Okay, so hello. Um, this is a bonus video for the Deltarune Chapter 2 Part 2 video, which, if you're watching this video, it's out. You can go watch it. If you haven't played Chapter 2, don't go watch it. Go play Chapter 2, then watch it, because I'd like you to do that. But the main goal of the series is I'm showing off a bunch of things for my friend Steph and the other people in the call who I'm like playing the game with. But I'm showing off a bunch of things, and one of the things that I want to show off is that when you defeat Spampton Neo with a full inventory, he gets mad and he does like he does the "I'll be in my trailer," whoop, and he flies away. However, I kind of want to keep it a surprise, which means I have to fill my inventory in secret. And since I don't know how to like go into the game and change things, I'm just gonna have to grind until I fill out all of my armor slots, of which I think there's 48. All of these. And the cheapest armor on where I am in the game is the Glorist for $200. Now, I'm doing a bit of maths here. I've got currently let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. 37 free inventory slots, which means I need... Oh god, it's sinking in how much money I need. 74,000? Oh no. Oh, why have I done this? No, it's not 74,000. It's 7,400. 7,400. That's doable. That's actually doable. That's doable. Oh god, I panicked for a second there. So yeah, I'm just gonna grind for some money and buy a whole bunch of those. Yeah, let's do it. How much money do I have right now? Okay, I have 2,600 right now. I'm gonna want to be around that when I go back. Okay. Let's go to the mansion. I am thinking of just using some swatches, or like grinding on swatches, because I think they give the most money. I'm not entirely sure about that. I mean, I guess I'll find out. Also gonna equip some silver cards, so that I can just get as much money as possible. Actually, I should keep the silver watch on, because that's less time spent in battle. Aren't I clever? Here we go. Okay, I think this is a good room. Swatchling's about in. Oh, maybe this isn't a good one to do, because I'm actually gonna have to like think about the battle. And that's just gonna be so much to deal with, but I mean, it won't be that bad. I just realized my mouse was on screen for all of that. So, oops, I'll take that off now. Okay, so that's $228. Okay, that's basically one armor every fight. That's good. That's good. Let me try one with the cat and just see how much that does. Because, see, the cat I can't do it all in one turn. I can do it in 2 turns. But I can do the swatch lanes in 2 turns most of the time too. So perhaps that's good. 169, that's not as much. Oh well, we'll figure it out. So I figured while I've got like all this time, I'm recording this so I can do like a speed up, like a time lapse of it later and put that in the video. But you know, while I'm here, I figure I might as well talk about Deltarune and like what it means to me, like why I'm so excited for Chapter 3 and 4 to come out, because I'm so excited for Chapter 3 and 4 to come out. I've been thinking about this game non-stop for the last like 2 months since they announced it in the Nintendo Direct. and I can't get enough of it. My brain's going like, so I gotta get my saves ready, and I'm theorizing. I gotta show all this stuff to my friends. Be like, this is why this game is so cool. You should play it. And if you're not gonna play it, listen to me play it, so that I can tell you just how good it is. And it's sort of a, I should sort of talk about why I like Deltarune, I guess, and not just that I like it. Um, Obviously, there is the fact that Deltarune is a spiritual successor and sequel to Undertale, and I mean, you probably already know about Undertale. Undertale was like incredibly what's the word? Not formulaic. Formative. It was like extremely formative for like my childhood. Like personally speaking, it was the first time I've ever been introduced to like a queer couple in anything. And that was where I learned that was from Undertale. And look at me now, gay as fuck. But like even saying all of that, don't I don't like Deltarune just because it's like Undertale or because it's like piggybacking off of what Undertale was. It's very clearly its own thing. Like as evidenced by even this like combat system that I'm doing right now. It's so much more it feels more like a game. And where I'm not trying to talk Undertale down, but it was very unique in a lot of ways, but like especially in its gameplay. The whole idea of sparing enemies is very um just kind of new. I'd never really seen anything like it before. But also like the writing and just like the looks and the music and I could gush about everything, but I don't know it would be very helpful to do that because that's all like subjective and personal taste. Even if I think the music is banging, I've been giving it some thought more recently as to why Deltarune is so important to me, and I've kind of realized that it's about. I don't want to say it's about being bad, because it's not, because it doesn't look bad. It's not a bad game. How do I word this? Deltarune is like. It's obviously not like the prettiest game. That's subjective. I shouldn't say that. But what I mean is more so that it's not afraid to be less detailed at times. I think Deltarune, so much about Deltarune's DNA and what makes it so enthralling to a lot of people is that it's a game that only Toby Fox could make. And not just Toby Fox, obviously. A lot of people work on this game. Temmie, I feel bad because I can't actually name anyone else who's done anything other than music on this game. And I should probably look into that. But Deltarune and Undertale is a game that it would only be Deltarune because Toby Fox made it. Because Deltarune is full of stupid ass Homestuck references that only Toby Fox would make. Really bad wordplay that's like really fucking funny. References to like really obscure things that Toby Fox would know. No one else could make that game. And even more so, nobody else could make it in this way. In the way that it looks and the way that it is. So much of it is Toby Fox and Temmie and everyone else using their skills to make their game. It's not about subjective good or bad, but more so that they're just doing what they can to make something they're really proud of. And that's especially inspiring to me as someone who I've struggled a lot with liking my own art. I draw. I like to draw. I've dabbled in really minimal music creators. I do all sorts of things. I'm a very creative person, but I struggle to sometimes I struggle to accept the fact that I have limitations as a creator, and they frustrate me from time to time. But I think seeing this game inspires me to be more accepting of what I can do. Because this game is fucking amazing, and it's just Toby Fox doing what he can do. That's why it's so good and why it's so important to me. Hopefully that made sense. I do feel like it was a bit rambly and probably won't make a lot of sense, or it'll make the most sense, and I'm actually amazing at getting my point across. But anyway, yeah, just that artistry is really what makes me fall in love with this game and this world so much. I should be defending because that gives me more money, you freaking idiot. Ah, god damn it. Okay, 5,700. That's like nearly halfway. Actually, it's not even halfway. Oh my god. I guess I should talk about some other things. Like, okay, I could get into theories. I do think that part of theorizing is accepting that you will probably be wrong about 99% of things. And, I am wary of the theorizing scene in a lot of communities because it can be very intense for people who very strongly believe in certain things and express that belief in kind of toxic and mean ways. But I do like theorizing. I love theorizing a lot. It's so fun to explore possibilities and just throw yourself into the world and try to figure out how things are. So I guess, having said that as a kind of disclaimer, I suppose I could talk about, where I think the game is going and whatnot. Spoiler alert, obviously. If you're here, you probably don't care about spoilers. I could talk about the night. The night is a complicated thing because I do think, okay, regardless of whether or not Chris ends up being the knight, quote unquote, I do think that vis-a-vis and using the end of chapter 1 as proof, that is what you are supposed to think. End of chapter 2, I mean. At the end of chapter 2, when Chris creates the Dark Fountain, the intended feeling that it's meant to get across to you is that Chris is the knight. I think that's what you're supposed to think, regardless of whether or not that is what's actually happening and that's how they reveal it, or it's something that can be turned as a twist later and it's not actually Chris, they just did it for this reason, and there's another person out there making fountains, I mean. And that is if there's even one other person making fountains. It could be sort of a multiple night situation and a bunch of people are making fountains. That's more or less what I predict is happening. I don't think Chris is the knight because with where we are at the current point in the story, it wouldn't make sense for Chris to be the knight. That's not to say that it couldn't make sense later after more things are revealed and as we learn more about, Chris's motivations and the world itself and how the exact mechanics of creating dark worlds and whatnot. It's definitely still in the realm of possibility, but I don't think that's where the story is trying to go. I definitely think that a lot of Chris's motivations to create the fountain is based around their home life and all the things that have been set up and implied with, like, obviously Toriel and Asgore's relationship, their, like, kind of strained, weird, standoffy relationship with Noelle, their, like, simultaneous adoration and jealousy of Asriel. I think there's clearly a lot going on in Chris's head that I think the story is going to go into, especially in chapter 3, which is going to be like it's a dark fountain inside Chris's home. And I know it's all the advertising is like the TV, and I think the TV guy, the TV screen with the smile, is going to be the big like character of the story or of the chapter. Like Queen is, like I guess like King is in chapter one, but I think it is also worth considering that the fountain is inside Chris's home, not just the TV. Like even in this chapter here, yes, it's like Cyber City, and it's all to do with like the computers, like the tasks here and whatnot. And Queen is like a motherboard or whatever, um, and it's all heavily themed around that. But also there's the ambulances, which are based on the posters of like the medicine, the hospital and stuff in the room. And there's also Trashy, who's a trash can in the room. He's got nothing to do with like the computers, but he's in the library or in the computer room, and that's where the chapter is set. So I also think there's going to be like stuff from Toriel and Chris's house in the Dark World. Like Cheriel is a perfect like target. Cheriel's definitely gonna be in the Dark World. Other things like the trash can with the flowers, like Trashy 2, maybe. I hope not, because fucking hate Trashy, but it's a possibility. We gotta consider it. Things like the green crayon, maybe that's a possibility. A pie, perhaps, or like I don't even know. I don't even know. But I think the chapter is going to have more of a focus on Chris's dynamic and relationship and mentality towards their family more than I think is being expected. That was the most horrible way to word that ever, but I think I got the thought out there. But yeah, I do think Chris sort of is creating the fountain for that purpose, the exact specifics of which escape me, and is why I feel kind of bad saying I believe in it, because it's kind of a flimsy, reason to believe in it, but I just really do, because I think that's where the story's going. Like, maybe Chris made it because they're trying to get Toriel into a dark world so that they can show Toriel something, or like try to reconcile her like disdain towards Asgore, which we don't know is justified. I think it seems very justified because obviously they're split up now. And if she doesn't want anything to do with him, that's obviously her own deal. But we still don't know the exact specifics of how it went down. She's very, like, avoidant of him, but in a way as to which it could be, like, tough on Chris, because Chris still seems to kind of like Asgore. So maybe it's kind of a, I don't know. I don't have the personal experience of being the child of people who have split up, or even knowing many people who have divorced. It's kind of I'm just really fascinated by Chris's character. Maybe that's what this is, and I'm just projecting that fascination into a theory. $8,000. Let's head back for now and just buy some stuff. But yeah, in summary of that entire spiel, I don't think Chris is the knight. Um, and that's just one one theory I have of many. I didn't even realize it tells you how much inventory space you have in this menu. I did not have to count. and now I have no space, but I'm going to go get $2,000 more so that I can sort of match what I had at the beginning, so Steph doesn't suspect anything's up. And of course, there's theories about like, obviously, what's Ross's whole deal? You know, this little guy right here. What is your deal? Obviously, there's theories that he's Azrael. I don't buy that. I just really don't think that's where the story's going at all. That he's like secretly Azrael in disguise. I know that his name is an anagram of Azrael for reasons that I'll get into in a minute. But it's certainly I just think I just think Azrael's away on summer vacation of college, or is away at college. I really think it's just that deep. But if Ralsei is not Azrael, then like what is he? Well, obviously there's a lot of theories about it. I do think that Ralsei is the red horn headband that Chris used to wear when they were like a child. Because the more I think about it, the more it makes sense that Ralsei is what Chris kind of wishes they were, but also simultaneously in a way what they wish Azrael was, someone more equal to them. I'm unsure exactly on the specifically how Chris views it, but I think it makes too much sense because Ralsei is like he's all alone in the dark world at the beginning. That's sus as fuck. Just saying off the bat, like, what is he? Like, obviously, there's still the possibility, and I sort of touched on this earlier, but not in this context. Obviously, he could be like something else entirely. He could be like maybe he's a Titan. I don't fucking know. He could be a Titan. He could be like a kind of god. He could just be like a very special Darkner that we don't know the mechanics of yet because we're 2/7 into this game. It really could still go anywhere else. I acknowledge that because that's part of being a theorizer. But I just think he is the red horn headband. That makes a lot of sense to me. Because that would explain like why he's in the school closet. That's a kind of weird place for that to be, but also makes a bit of sense. There's not going to be much inside the school closet. The only other thing that was in that chapter was like the dancey white things that shoot at you, which I think is like the chalk. Haven't seen anyone mention that, but like, yeah, the storeroom has chalk in it. We know that it has that, and so that's what that turned into in that dark world, is those like chalk things. And they're like white sticks too. It's like, it's perfect. That's what the chalk is. Anyway, getting off track. I think there's a lot of, and maybe this is, oh god, you can really see like my bias bleeding through of what I love or what I'm fascinated by character-wise, because both of the theories I've mentioned are very heavily centered around Chris's mentality and what they think as a character. Well, I do think this story is going to focus on Chris a lot more, because obviously there's the whole, like, you are the heart, you are the player, you're like taking control of Chris. And so I think the game is going to more and more ramp up Chris's explicit characterization as like a, no, this is not just your player character, this is a character that you are controlling, but it's not like your character, that's Chris that you are controlling. And you may even like start to feel guilty. In fact, you probably will feel guilty for controlling them all this time if it becomes that deep. And there's other stuff too, like I kind of tend to stray away, or I'm not that fascinated by theories such as, oh, what happened to December, because I really don't think we are anywhere near far enough in the game to even come to a close relative understanding of what the fuck happened there. It is genuinely so far away from our understanding as to what happened. It could, like, there is too many possibilities to even name them. So I'm a bit less interested in that. I'm more personally invested in theories about characters and their motivations and the things that they're going to do and how they're going to react to certain things that happen in the story. Which is probably why I'm so focused around Chris today. But these are my favorite kinds of theories, which is I guess why I like sharing them so much and why I was so eager to bring them up. I guess I should... Did I miss anything? I feel like I was on a topic of conversation and I didn't finish my thought, thinking I'd come back to it later, and then just completely forgot to come back to it. I guess I'll know when I'm editing this video, and I'll kick myself if that ends up being the case. So, anyways, I've talked about, Deltarune and why I like it. I've talked about, like, theories and stuff. I guess there's only one other thing to talk about, and that's kind of like community. This is a bit cheesy, but I do really like the Deltarune community a lot. I did kind of talk them down a bit earlier because of, the whole very unhealthy ways of sharing theories and putting people down who have theories that you don't agree with. But I do sincerely like a lot of people in the Deltarune community. They're very funny. They make a lot of very funny things. In fact, I'm gonna link my favorite Deltarune related video in the description because it's so funny and I need everyone to watch it. So yeah, that is every single oh my god, every single armor slot filled up with a glow wrist. Should I leave one of these open? I don't actually remember if there's an armor you get later on in the palace. Although I guess tomorrow I'll be fighting Spamton Neo right away, so it doesn't matter. God, I'm excited. How do you actually get rid of armors? Do you just, like, have to sell them? I guess you can't toss them. You figured I'd know this since I love this game so much, but... oh well, who knows? I feel like my last point kind of got cut off a bit because I ended up being done grinding, so I'll just talk about it a bit more. Obviously, I'm sure you have your own opinions about, like, the Undertale community. And I hate to go back to Undertale again, but it's a healthy point to build off of. The Undertale community was very... young, I think, when the game was, very popular back in, like, 2000. Oh god, how old is Undertale? 2017? Please be 2017, don't be any older than that. Oh my god, it was 2015. Oh my god, that's so long ago. But obviously, the Undertale community was very young, and that can sometimes be cringy in a lot of ways. There was a lot of like fan-made fights between, like, Papyrus and, like, the disbelief Papyrus, and Papyrus is like, you kill Sans, I'm so depressed, and then he's like super cool and he turns, like, orange, and then there's a big fight with him and whatever, and there was all sorts of fan comics and, like, web comics that were made, and I personally loved all that shit. I don't know if you were expecting me to diss it, but no, that was amazing. I loved that. But I understand how people wouldn't like that. I don't think the Deltarune community is quite the same, just because internet culture has evolved so much in 10 years that I don't think there's that much of a space for that same kind of fandom to exist anymore. Um, that's not inherently a bad thing. I like what we have now, but I do kind of miss the old days. But yeah, I started on the Undertale so I could jump off into Deltarune, but um, obviously there's a lot of ways the Deltarune community is like Undertale. It's very queer. That's a given because Toby Fox can't stop writing queer people into his game and making them really fucking good. Um, please keep doing that, by the way, Toby. I got no complaints over here. Only more encouragement. But yeah, there's a whole lot of queer people, and that's not very important to me, but it's something that's very comforting to me as a queer person. Um, I always feel very welcomed in those kinds of spaces. But also, like, the Deltarune community is, I think it's starting to become not bigger than Undertale. I think that's way too much of a mountain to climb. But it's kind of it's reaching further than Undertale did. It's because like everyone's like looking at it, and not everyone's like falling in love with it. Not everyone's like staying for more. But I feel like it's spreading out further and reaching more people in total than Undertale did. Maybe that's bullshit, and I'm like crazy for saying that. But it's just kind of something I've noticed, and something that I feel is happening. But maybe I'm wrong. Feel free to bash me for it. That's kind of all I had to say. That was very rambly and ranty. I'm probably gonna hate myself for how I said all of this when I'm editing. But oh well. Fuck you, me. Um, yeah. Hope you enjoyed hearing me talk about this. Um, there will not be an episode 2 to this podcast. I'm definitely not a podcast person. I just am not interesting. I cannot talk about whatever. Very bad at it. I've had to cut a lot of like dead noise out of this video. I already know I have. But hopefully it was still entertaining. And if you enjoyed it, go watch part 3. Part 3 will be out by the time this video comes out because I'm going to include the flashback and then link to the full video. You probably already knew that. I'm gonna shut up now. Goodbye.